Welcome to Lead with LeAnn, your definitive guide for exceptional leadership and successful entrepreneurship, airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. where I am, Central Time, Minnesota, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. I'm your host, LeAnn Lyon, and I am thrilled to be sharing this journey with you. Every week on Lead with LeAnn, you'll join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs. We'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead from authority and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible successes. Our show is not only about imparting knowledge, it's about creating a community. So it's a space for us to laugh and learn and leap forward together in our quest for professional and personal growth. So whether you're embarking on a new entrepreneurial venture or looking to inject some fresh energy into an existing one, there will always be insights for you. So get ready for today's thought-provoking conversation, enlightening insights, actionable advice, and the support of a network that champions the win-win philosophy. Learn to lead with passion, purpose, and determination right here on Lead with LeAnn, and let's lead together. My guest today is a seasoned business financial coach with over 25 years of experience as an accountant and fractional CFO. She specializes in empowering women entrepreneurs to master their finances. I wish I knew. Oh, wait. As a certified NeuroCoach, so there's a twist for you. She excels in breaking down mindset barriers, boosting confidence, and driving financial success, helping many small business owners grow their revenue and profits by, how much do you want to grow your business by? How about 20 to 50% within the first year? So Audrey's mission is to equip women with the tools for financial independence and security, creating thriving businesses and stable futures. I'd love to welcome to the stage Audrey Faust. Are you there? Come forward. Let's see you. There she is.
Hi.
Hey, it's great to see
Hi,
you.
LeAnn. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, it's so good to see you. And I saw you last week
You did?
because last week Audrey had a 3-day workshop, I guess, walking people through, exactly what she does and how she does it and giving a lot of wonderful tips. And you had a really nice turnout.
Thank you. Yes, it was a nice turnout, and there was a lot of people watching the replay as well. So
That's
that was amazing.
great. And how often do you do that particular workshop?
That particular one every 4 months. So I have 4 workshops that I do. A free live workshop. Challenge was what the other one was called. I call them different things, masterclass, whatever you want to call them. Every single month I have a live event that's for 100% free to anyone that wants to sign up and come and learn more about mindset or business finances.
Right. So basically every month you do one of these types of programs. And like you said, you do finance, you do business mindset, all sorts of different opportunities. How long have you been doing that?
I just started the monthly set. I would do workshops or master classes like every couple of months. I just started doing one every single month I guess it's been about 3 months now. I've been doing it every month. So, and then I rotate between 4 versus I had one that I was doing on repeat every couple of months, but I upped my game.
You upped your game. And that's kind of the name of the game with entrepreneurship, isn't it?
Yes,
Like, how can we
absolutely.
get better? But it's nice to have that kind of a rhythm to your business too. Like, like, okay, this is great. And now I'm going to get ready for the next thing and how you prepare for that. But so was this your 4th month of doing this or your 3rd month?
Um, I'm trying to remember. I think it was, well, 3rd, yes, because I'm launching the 4th one of my series next month, which is on QuickBooks. So
Good. Do you have a title for that one?
I believe it's QuickBooks Simplified. I'm not
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
We workshopped a couple different names. So it will be, sign up will be live by the end of this week. So
Okay.
you can sign up, and the workshop is going to be on September 17th.
Excellent. Well, I know that date well because that's the same date that my summit begins, which I also run every 4 months. And I believe I've invited you to be potentially, look at participating in one of our summits, which we'd love to
Yes.
do that. And my summit likewise goes 4 days, 2 hours a day. So working around busy business owners' schedules that want to contribute and or participate. So we look forward to that someday. What part of the world are you in, Audrey?
Right now, I'm in Pennsylvania, but I spend my winters in Florida. So I'm a snowbird.
Nice. So in doing that, you have two homes actually, one in each
Yes.
place? Excellent.
Yeah.
And then do you rent it out when you're not there or just let it be?
I used to rent it out. Last winter, I rented out because it's in a ski resort area. Um, I rented out this house that I'm in the summer, but we are actually selling this house to move closer to my grandchildren, for a Pennsylvania house. So that is, I won't be renting it anymore. But no, and I don't rent my Florida house. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's pros and cons to it. I have done Airbnb with homes and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. I had a guest on my show some time ago and she's a realtor. So I have my license as well. And she had, I think at one point, 16 rentals. And yeah, managing 16 rentals and broken toilets and neighbors complaining and all this stuff. And one day she learned about a different way to do things. She sold them all, and she's never made so much money in her life because of a different way that she's financing with real estate now. It's pretty cool. More than one way to do things, isn't there?
yes, yeah. I at one point I had 3 rentals, and now I have 0. So it gets old.
Yeah,
It's good
for real.
money for sure, but it does get old.
So, how long have you actually been an entrepreneur?
Well, gosh, probably off and on for 20, 25 years, 24 years, 23 years, somewhere around there, off and on. There was a stint in there where I actually went back and worked for one of my clients for about 5 years as his CFO. And then I came back out again. I love it so much.
Oh, that's cool. And as a fractional CFO, I mean, do you end up with a W-2 or do they end up paying you just directly? How does that work for you?
No, as the fractional CFO, we actually function as an accounting team. So if you were a small business, multi 7 figures is the area where we work under. Me and my team work as their accounting department,
Yeah.
and we're not W-2. We are
1099.
10, well, yeah, they're not even a 1099 because I'm an S corp, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Yep. So there's so many ways to run businesses. And when you work with people and work with businesses, do you help them figure out what to do and how to set that up? Are they going to be an S corp or different things like that? Is that part of what you do, or do you refer out for that?
We talk about it, definitely. There are advantages to being an S corp versus a sole prop when you get to a certain size, when your profit's at a certain place, because there are tax advantages to that. Not everyone should like run out and be an S corp right away because it costs you more to run an S corp, but once your profit gets to a certain point, you're going to save more in taxes being an S corp.
Got it. Excellent. Lots of knowledge in that head of yours.
Yes. 25 years.
So that kind of begs the question, is that what you went to school for? Is that what you trained to do?
So yes, I went to college for accounting, but I went to college as an adult.
Okay. So,
So I did not go to college right out of high school, which is an interesting story. And I was actually afraid to take my SATs because I had a brother, and this kind of goes back to my neurocoaching. I had a brother who constantly told me I was stupid, and I was scared to take the SATs because I didn't think I could get into college. I didn't think I could pass, right? Because I had this programming, which I learned through my neuro certification, that happened when I was a child. And
Yeah.
not that he knew, he didn't know any better. But from the age 7 and below, the people that are around us really affect our subconscious because our subconscious is just forming. So my brother called me stupid on a regular basis, my older brother, and I believed it. So I was too afraid to go to college out of high school. But I found myself in a very difficult financial situation when my kids were little, and I was did administrative work. I had 3 young kids, and yeah, we were like on the border of, finance. We got a what was called an earned income credit one year. And when we got that earned income credit, that means on your tax return, you're kind of at the poverty level. And that was really like a slap in the face because my kids were little and I couldn't go back to work full time and make enough money to put them in daycare and for it to make sense and like all the things. And my husband had his own business. He was just starting. And we got this earned income credit, and it was a slap in the face because I was really like, oh, like we're that poor,
Wow.
like that we could have to get government assistance. So it was kind of the shaken up that I needed. And the only way I knew possible at that point to make more money was to do what my parents tried to get me to do was to go to college. So I ended up going back as an adult. I say I put my Tony Robbins tapes in,
Yep.
got that little motivation, and went back and to school. And I did really well. I ended up 60. I had like a 3.8 GPA. So my brother was wrong.
Brother was indeed wrong. Yeah. Wow. What a story. Thank you for sharing that. That takes a lot of guts to share a story, that personal. And I
Thank you.
really appreciate you for doing that because you're not alone.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. And you're very gracious. Your brother also was a child. There was a bit of they don't know. I've raised 2 daughters as well, and it sounds like you've raised your children. That now you have grandchildren. Um, but yeah, we often don't know what we're doing, even with our own children,
Yeah.
and or what our children are doing to each other. And there really can be a lot of trauma in that. So you went through Tony Robbins, it sounds like, so did I. Did you complete? So actually, right above me, see the black one right there?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
full mastery university, like a lot of money to go through all of his programs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I just did the CDs back then
yeah, yeah.
in my car or in my little player. Yeah. Little Tony Robbins motivation is definitely what got me to change my life and go back to school for accounting. And
Good for you.
that's, made a difference.
Yeah, he's quite the motivator. Do you still follow him? Do you still listen to or participate in any of his challenges? I know he's running another one coming up here soon.
Not as much, no. I kind of have other people I've grown into and follow that, I always say I want to go to one of his live events because I've never been. Um,
Do it.
but
Do it.
yeah,
There is nothing quite like it. And, he's getting older too. His voice
yeah.
is definitely, he's not supposed to be able to talk at all. And his voice is definitely getting worse. So, like, don't delay. Get on
Mm,
the next thing you can get to. He's already not doing all the presenting any longer, like he did when I did it. because his voice is just really, really, it's tough. So if you get an opportunity, you listeners, check out Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. It is a life-changing event. My husband was invited actually by his mother to go to the financial peace or the financial universe, not financial peace, that's a whole different person, but to a Tony Robbins financial seminar. My husband came home and he said, "So, LeAnn, there's this thing. I think you'd really like it." And the next thing we knew, we were on our way to Unleash the Power Within. I was 5 months pregnant, and I suddenly, they're like talking about a fire walk, and I'm like, that ain't happening. Nope. I'm pregnant, and when you're pregnant with, especially with your first child, you're like, nobody in
Right.
the earth has ever been pregnant before except me. I'm special. And but then I saw literally thousands of people doing this fire walk. People who could barely walk were doing this fire walk. And I'm like, and the competitor in me rose up.
Yes.
And I'm like, I can do this. And I did. And that was just the beginning. But when you do push through and do these hard things, for you, it's just going back to college. And
Yeah.
again, I applaud you. But when you do those hard things, you realize you did it once, you can do it again.
100%. Yes. I went on to get my MBA, so
Oh, there you go. Right
took the
away?
G. I had to take the GMATs. Never did have to take the SATs, but I had to take the GMATs for my MBA program.
Oh,
So
that's great. Did you go right for the MBA right away, or did you take a little bit?
no, no, I took a few. I took a few years off.
Okay.
And, kids get to a certain age where you're just running around, right? My kids are at an age where I'm like trying to get to all the activities and this and that, and it just became impossible. Like I had no life outside of like their lives on the weekends and the evenings, right? So, yeah, once they got older, and then I went back for my MBA.
Yeah. I,
Again, motivated by a few more Tony Robbins tapes because he was really the only person I knew back then.
yeah.
Um,
So you say you follow other people now. Who do you follow now a little bit more than just Tony Robbins?
well, I guess I like working more with like business coaches one on one. Well, not one on one, but in small groups and things like that. I work with a business coach now, Sarah Canal. She's actually a book writing coach, but
Oh,
she's also a business coach, and I just really align with her. And yes, I have a book coming out. That's
I
kind
was
of
gonna
where
say,
I saw your face go. Yes, I have a book coming out, hopefully by the end of the year. It's in publishing now. But yes, I found her because she's a book writing coach, and I stay with her because she's an amazing business coach. Yeah, and like I like that more of somebody that I can assess versus Tony is kind of like, you can't get that close to him unless you're, you know, ready to shell out a couple 100,000 probably.
so I have high-fived him.
Woo!
He's very, 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 very tall. I also had a one-to-one conversation with him. I went on to be trained by him and learn a lot of neural linguistic or neural things,
Mhm.
from him. In fact, these are all the cards. This is how we got trained.
Oh,
But
wow.
different, like conditioned new pattern until consistent reinforcement. This one is called shaping. This one is called stealing anchors. So I still have them. I actually still keep them around. I haven't gone through them in a while, but um, it was in one of those training seminars that he asked a question. There were several hundred people in the room, and I was in the back because I had an 11-month-old baby at home and I was frantically worried, about it all the time. And he asked the question. I came back into the room, and this is just who I am. I was always the kid with their hand raised up because I did know I knew. And he called on me, and I had to stand up and deliver and answer his questions. And I immediately blacked out. Now, I didn't fall, I didn't faint, but I lost consciousness to what was happening in the moment. And I talked to him apparently for 30 to 45 minutes. Like he went back and forth, and there was a lot of programming going on subconsciously. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, people around me told me later kind of what happened, and I think, it did make a difference. So how did you get into the what's it called? Neuro coaching.
Yes. So
Is that your
I
MBA?
worked with a mindset coach about, I guess it's about 6 years ago now.
Okay.
And before I did that, I never knew like you could actually change your thoughts. That was just like so eye opening to me. Like, you can, those things run around in your head, you can change them. So, like, that was really eye opening. And as I continued working in the accounting done for you business and working with these CEOs, I noticed that the mindset that would go on right with them. And I was like, I didn't know how to change it. I could hear it, I could see it, but I wasn't trained on like how to change it and how to make a difference in them and their businesses. And then I actually stumbled across a different mindset coach. Dr. Shannon Irvine was her name. And she's the one that really got into the subconscious programming and how that works and all of that. And I was like fascinated and explained a lot in my life, right, with my brother and all of that. And so I then found out that she had a certification program, and I was like, I have to do that, So I did that a few years ago and decided to marry the money mindset part of my work with the actual financial coaching and having strategies to grow their businesses. And that's kind of where my coaching was birthed then.
Wow.
Because, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that's so cool.
Oh, so yeah, so like I realized like I'm working with multi seven figures as done for you service, this and that. And, the lower end, like six figures, multi six figures in there, really couldn't justify hiring somebody like me
Mhm.
and my team. But I knew like if they just understood some of the things that these seven, multi seven, the ones that are going, growing, like if they just understood their numbers and they understood how to read them and they didn't let this money mindset stuff like hold them back, I could really help and make a difference. And that's kind of when I kind of transitioned into the coaching and working with the smaller businesses on a coaching and consulting basis versus a done for you basis.
Oh.
And that's kind of really where my heart is. I just had a coaching call right before we got off, and it was our last call, and like it was just the transformation I saw in her, in Rita, and like we looked at her numbers, and I'm like she more than like she's been in business for a couple of years, and we were looking at her profit this year, and her profit this year was more than double all the other years combined.
Wow.
Like, which just blew my mind. And she goes, "That's all because of you, Audrey." And I was like, "Oh," it was like, and she made a good point, but she said, for so many years, I stuck the finance stuff in the corner, and I was afraid of it, and I was scared. I didn't want to look at it because I didn't understand it, and you just made it so easy for me to understand and not really be afraid of it anymore. Kind of like I was afraid of the SATs, right? A lot of women are afraid to like look at the numbers because they don't understand. And it's, when I can help them and see them make such a difference in their business, it just warms my heart.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that so much. And how long were you working with her?
Um, about, well, technically my program is 3 months, but hers kind of went a little over. No, 4 months. Hers went over. I think we went into 5 months. It was about 5 months.
And wow,
And
in that time, you got an amazing result with her. And not that you can predict that that will happen every time. Obviously, there has to be a solid business there as well. But
yeah.
it's amazing. Beyond the finances, the QuickBooks, and some of the mindset, do you also end up working with the business owners in terms of taking a look at what they're selling, how they're selling, price points, things like that? Or is that kind of a separate?
So
Oh,
yeah. So pricing is actually one of my workshops because I find that it's something that women really, really struggle with. Our worth, our value,
yeah.
right? And a lot of times I work with women and they're charging by the hour,
Hmm.
and that can put a value on our worth and and I sometimes I try to see if there's another way we can charge, right? To go from an hourly to a flat rate model. Because for a couple of reasons. One, I'm like the dollar per hour, you know, method just, you're never going to grow doing that, right? You're never going to grow. You can only grow so much.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. You're not never going to grow. You can only grow so much doing that.
Yeah. It's tough to scale.
And it puts more of a mindset strain on us when we're saying, oh, our hour is worth X dollars, right? And then we go into our heads and see, like, am I really worth that much? Am I, all the things, like all the struggles that we have in our head. And when you go to a flat rate or a, rate per project or rate per, I work with some interior designers and we'll go to a square footage rate or a room rate. It becomes less about you and more about the project. So, yeah.
That's brilliant. And that's a journey I've been on, just so you know, in the last year or so. There was a moment, June 6th at 4 p.m. in 2023. Not that, it was important or anything, but I had just finished basically doing a free Q&A call with a large group of people, answered a lot of questions, and one of the women asked, LeAnn, can you just do this for me? And I said, oh, I appreciate that, and earlier in the call, I had said, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And then, and then I said, no, I'm not going to do this, although clearly I loved what I was teaching. And so there was just like literally in my mind, the voice of God saying, now you do. I'm like, oh, okay then. And the next day, I started creating a website and started putting numbers to the projects that I was willing to sell. And the numbers were extraordinarily low. And it took the last year to kind of work through that, be like, wow, okay, I made $79, but that was not enough. For everything. And there's just been a really an evolution to it all. Like all of my skills, all of my knowledge, all of my years in business, I do get to be paid for that by the current
Yes,
person right in front of me because they are benefiting from all of that. So I agree.
100%.
It's a challenge though to move into that mindset, especially if you do have any sort of a trauma response going on, which I'll fully admit I do. So yeah, it's fun. Fun, fun.
Yeah. I mean, everybody struggles with it. So that's kind of why, you know, more often than not, we do get into pricing and sometimes it's a factor of, they're not charging enough, and it's a simple fact. And when we look at the blueprint of their business, I'm like, this is, we got to do one thing, or we got to increase sales, we got to increase your rate, or we got to reduce your expenses because you're not making any, your bottom line doesn't exist. You're in the negative. So it's also that realization of, oh, this is why I can't pay myself anything or not enough, because if I always like to say, if you can go out and get a full-time job
Yeah.
making more money than you're making in your business, then there's something wrong. Because you're working a lot harder in your business than you would ever work in a full-time job. And yeah, so I come across women all the time, that that's the case, unfortunately.
So
And
to
we
that
fix it.
And you fix it. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask that question. If it comes down to, I mean, obviously there's something about scaling too. And when you charge per project, you have more of an ability to scale because you
Yes.
can potentially bring on people. You've mentioned a team several times. You
Hmm.
can bring on people who can take parts of the project or take a project or however that can go. So it's a scaling thing. But you said that there's a few ways you can do that. Charge more, do more, or cut expenses. Which of those is kind of the go-to? If there's, especially if there is flexibility to cut expenses, is that the first go-to? Is that the easiest thing to do?
That's actually my last go-to.
Your last go-to.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
because it's a lot easier to raise your rates or increase your sales than like cutting your expenses is only going to do so much, right? We can look at it, we can decide um, if you have too much team. Like if you have team already and you have too much team, maybe that is something you can cut. I'll tell you a story which was funny. One of my clients, Tiffany, she was not able to hardly pay herself anything, and she was living on her savings. She had gone through a divorce, got a settlement from the divorce, was living on that, started this business, and we did her blueprint and we looked at her numbers, and she had a team, even though she wasn't, she was just starting out. And her team was, was her biggest line item. And I looked at her and I said, Tiffany, I was like, if you look at these numbers, you can't justify that team. Like, so we got to do one of two things. We got to increase your revenue or we got to cut the team. And she said to me, well, you can't take my team. Like, I'm not going to have a business if I don't have my team. She's just like, they know how to do things I don't know how to do. And da 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 da. And I'm like, okay. So that means we're going to increase your revenue. And we created a package for her. And we worked on her money mindset. There was a lot of that going on in there. That's usually the first thing we work on. So we worked on that. And then we created a package for her because she was doing the dollar hour model. We created this new package for her. She has a lot of expenses going out. So her package was like 50,000. It's even more now. But we started at 50,000 and half of it would be expenses going out for what she did. Not including her team, just actual hard costs. So I said, Tiffany, all you need to do to support this team and actually pay yourself something is sell one package a month. And she was like, okay. Next month, she went out and sold 4 packages. I was just like,
At
yes.
$50,000 per.
Yes. So $200,000. Now, half of that is hard cost. But yeah, she did. She went out and sold 4 of those packages. So she had a list of like 8 warm people. And I'm just like, smile, reach out to them, tell them you have this new package. And yeah, she closed 4 of them. I was like, wow. I told you had to close 1 and you would close 4.
So I'm curious too, then, a variety of people. I'm guessing that you're not only dealing with dog walkers, I'm just probably no dog walkers, but
No.
a variety of types of businesses. Are you working
Yes.
with some brick and mortar, some service, is there a variety or are you more?
Mostly service businesses. I do work with a lot of interior designers, and some of them have a brick and mortar as well as the interior design business. So, yeah, but most of them are service-based businesses. I don't really have, unless it's part of their service-based business, I don't really have brick and mortars.
Or product-based?
Yeah.
Do you have any product-based businesses selling widgets?
No, not so much. No, mainly service-based or service with a product, right? With some sort of, yeah.
I would just
Like,
think, wonder if that's common. I mean, and again, you focus on women entrepreneurs, but do women tend to do more service-based but it's not necessarily. I know women who create amazing lotions and soaps and candles and all those kind of things too.
yeah,
And
but
just so
sometimes that's a little harder too to increase the pricing, right? Because if there's a status quo. Or I had just a connection call with someone who had a franchise. Well, their prices are set. They're not allowed to charge more.
Right.
So that can be challenging.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that is not the best route for them. I'm not a big fan of franchises, but if you are just coming into the business, maybe that's something you like to do. But that's one of the reasons I'm not a fan of franchises, because you have to pay them a fee and they tell you like how much you can sell, what everything is, and how much you can sell it for. So,
Yeah. Actually investing into a decentralized e-commerce platform. And one of the things I love about it is that unlike the big A organization that everybody buys from right now, and I used to be a product manufacturer, but of course I was the product manufacturer, so I could set the prices,
right.
except that that organization told me what I could and couldn't do. They literally did.
Mm.
So while I could set the prices, they had me promise that I would never sell, even on my own website, even at a trade show, lower than what they could get it from through that commerce site. And to talk about just a dagger in the back of a business owner. It
Mm.
was really tough. And then we had to jump through so many hoops, and it was a nonstop battle. So the concept of decentralized is that service and product
Yep.
vendors will be able to say, this is what I'm worth, this is what I'm charging. But the cool thing with this is that they're actually bringing in influencers, podcasters, and different things to talk about the different vendors as well and lift them up and prop them up, working on an affiliate income. So it's a very unique combination.
Mm. I
Yes,
like that motto.
yeah. Yes, the big A has affiliates too, but if you've ever looked at it, you don't get paid much. You get paid pennies. And you have the vendors don't pay the affiliates. The commerce site does. So
Mm.
it's just a very different model. I'm very excited to see it take off. It's actually launching this fall, so it's fun to be part of. Fun to be part of things like that as well. But it
Yes.
all costs money. And how do you decide? Okay, here's another thing. Is it just another fancy thing that's distracting me, or is it solid? Does it match my brand, who I am, what I stand for? Do you find that that's a common issue as well?
Um, I find when you're
Shiny
bringing up a
objects.
couple things for me, because I
Yeah.
just invested in this book, so we can talk about that in a minute. But I, when it comes to my clients, when we look at the line items, so I'm going to take the one interior designer who has a brick and mortar that I work with, and the brick and mortar does not bring in a lot of revenue. It kind of like is a break even. So she's thought at a moment, like, well, maybe I just shut it down. But that's where she gets her design clients from. They walk in the door. So twisting the mindset around to, well, the brick and mortar is my marketing.
Hmm.
Then it's okay if it's not making a profit, right? So there are things. I had another girl who is a singer, same kind of scenario. She does an event that she breaks even or maybe even loses a little money on, a live singing event. However, it makes her look better to the rest of the events. Like, oh, she was on this event. She's amazing. We're going to book her for our event then. So it's kind of like you sometimes need to look at the whole picture. It's not always about the profit, right? Sometimes there's a marketing piece that is involved in whatever it is that you're doing. But the key is to break it out so you know and you can make that decision. Because if it's all just thrown into income, you have no clarity on what anything is making and whether or not you should sunset it, take it off. I had in my Done For You business, I was working with a lab who even at multi-million dollars, was not bringing out his revenue in different categories.
Mhm.
And when I started working with him, that's one of the first things we did. And once we did that, there was an item that he was selling that was like, this takes a lot of mental energy. It takes a lot of my time, and we're not making hardly any money on it. It's gone. So it's like as simple as that. And you can make that decision when you can see the numbers like that.
Absolutely.
So,
I was thinking more of like the shiny object syndrome, like,
oh,
oh, do this and I could do that. And I mean, you've combined a couple of businesses and I think you were very thoughtful about it from what I perceive from you. You weren't like, blah, I'll just do, and now I'm going to do magic. Uh, but there can be that tendency to take on a lot of shiny object. Just today, somebody said, "Hey, I have a marketing platform, love it, have been using it forever. It's saved me thousands and thousands of dollars versus other things." So somebody's like, "Well, have you seen this one though?" And I said,
yeah,
"I don't care. It
yeah.
it's not even worth me looking at it because I sell so much of this other product that we'd have to literally go to every client I've ever had and say, I've flipped, and I can't imagine anything more miserable than that, and get them logged in. It just there's no way that I would actually go and put myself or my people through that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really coach around that kind of stuff as much. I can talk about myself.
Sure.
The book was a bucket list that I wanted to do in 2024, or actually write it in 2023. I can't believe we're already in August of 2024. I wrote the book last year. It is still not published. I've been challenged with my publisher. That's all I'm going to say. Hoping it gets out by the end of the year. Um, but yeah, I invested a lot of money in it. It was a lot of time and effort. It's a lot of time and effort. I'm now dealing with this publisher and trying to get things going. Um, I hope it's worth the investment that I put in it. Um, I'm not sure if at first I thought I would do another one, but I don't know. I'm kind of rethinking that. So,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
also think like it was something that was on my heart to do.
Mm.
And it's around personal finance. It's called She Grows Rich, How to Become a Financial Powerhouse. And it kind of starts off with my story that I shared in the beginning of the show about how, I made that life changing experience and, went back and turned around. And now I have like, get to live from multiple houses and, you know,
Pretty
it's,
cool. Pretty cool.
from being on the poverty line to living in multiple houses was a nice feat. So, yeah,
Awesome. So I have a question. I'm going to ask you to think about when you were younger, and I mean like 9. If you can put yourself in a 9-year-old, so you can't quite babysit, but you're old enough, maybe 9 or 10, or maybe you're able, at least at my age, I was on my own at 9 and 10. I was like walking alone all day, get out of the house, come back before dark. Um,
yes.
what did you do, or what did you play, or how did you entertain yourself at that age group? Can you remember?
Yeah. So, a lot of time, I mean, we were outside, like I was outside like you. It's like, see ya, and we had a neighborhood of kids and we all kind of hung out together. We also had like woods, a bunch of trees and creeks and stuff, that we would play in. Like I'd be picking up crayfish and catching salamanders, and that was my day, and yeah, um, bringing me back. Did I answer your question? No, I forget your
It did
question.
actually. I'm going to go a little further with it though. At that point, when you're out would you imagine your future? Would you imagine your adult life or what you thought adulting would be like it yet? Do you remember having thoughts of what you would do when you were that age?
No,
Not
I
yet?
mean, I remember when I was younger. I don't remember how old. I thought I was going to be like a hairdresser or a cosmetologist, doing hair and makeup. And my mom was like, "You can't make any money doing that," and she talked me out of that. Um, so that's one thing I remember that I wanted to do, and then never did. I remember I would cut the hair of all my dolls. Things like that. Thought I was already there, but yeah, if you'd have told, I mean, even what I do now, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that I'd be talking on this live show with LeAnn, I'd be like, I don't think so.
Well, I have news. Guess what? So you said you just shared that when you were that age, you had this dream of being a cosmetologist. And so what came to me is that if you think about what a cosmetologist does, they do make their clients look beautiful. And isn't that what you still do? Isn't that what
Yeah,
you are doing today?
on paper, I make them look beautiful on paper.
You
So
do.
that's very interesting.
And you make them happy, you make them
Yeah,
glow, you make them feel better about themselves. You're a cosmetologist. You're just
with numbers.
with numbers. Congratulations, Audrey.
Thank you.
You're living your life dream and you just didn't know it yet. Oh, well, you are a delight. It's been so much fun chatting with you. We're coming up towards the end of that time. So how can people reach you? How can they find you? What's the best social media? Do you have a website?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great free resources on my website. There's an audio if you want to figure out if you have any money mindset issues. There's a free 20-minute audio on my website. My website's audreyfaustconsulting.com. And if you click on the free resources page, there's a couple of different things there. The audio is 20-minute audio. It's going to ask you questions that you're going to answer about your money mindset, and then it's going to tell you how to reprogram them in your subconscious. So
Sounds like a
lots of
deal.
cool things there. And yeah, we actually today we just launched a whole new branded website.
Ooh,
So it's got a whole new brand to it. So it's so exciting. And yeah.
great. So I'm going to spell your name just because sometimes this is on a podcast form. Anybody watching, of course, her name is spelled very clearly, beautifully at the bottom of her screen, but it's Audrey, Audrey, Faust, Faus, as in Sam T, Faust, consulting.com. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Awesome. Excellent. And are you reachable through LinkedIn or can people find you on Facebook, Instagram,
Yes.
TikTok? What do you do? What's your quick?
I'm everywhere, right? Not TikTok though. I'm not on TikTok yet. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a very big following on LinkedIn. You can find me, Audrey Faust. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. My handle is Great with Money. So you can find me there.
At Great with Money. I love it. That's so perfect. Really, truly, just a joy. Any final words before we say goodbye for today?
No, I mean, it's been a lot of fun and I really enjoyed chatting with you, LeAnn. And yeah, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. And so Audrey, thank you. Thank you. And on behalf of Audrey and myself, I want to thank our audience and our replay listeners for joining us on this journey to unleash your joyful business potential, which Audrey clearly has done. Isn't her story just so inspiring? I'm going to live with this one. Remember, leadership is a voyage we take together. So keep shining, keep aligning with your purpose and dig down, find that purpose. And come on back next week, every week at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv for a live podcast. Of course, you can find the replays on YouTube, Spotify, Audible, and lots of other places. And for our next inspiring episode. So until next time, this is LeAnn, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep leading with heart, and I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Farewell, and keep spreading joy.